Morning, welcome back to the glorious Mooloolaba Beach. Food, glorious food.
Yes, we all have lots of memories linked to food. We have memories around the family dinner table. We have nearly every event that ever happens in your life has some, especially the events you remember, like weddings, funerals, what else?
Birthdays, baby showers, anniversaries.
They're all linked to food. And of course, probably the biggest link we all have, even if we don't actually remember it, is breastfeeding or bottle feeding as a child. So the thing about food and the brain is that these links are made, these subconscious links are made in the brain, and what happens is we make a link around the feeling state. So when you were experiencing the food, what kind of feelings did you have, Joe, when you were experiencing food as a child?
Yeah, well, it's such an interesting one, and I did make a bit of a joke on the lead up post to this about white bread, yummy bread.
The smell.
Yeah, the smell, the taste. So of course I thought that, I loved the smell and the taste and all of that, but really it's related back to a couple of things. Like it was big in our family. And it was like it was placed on the mantelpiece. Like it was always
like
out.
A status symbol.
Yeah, it was always out, easy to see. It was like Mum would come home from the shops and the bread took pride of place on the bench, and it could be one of a couple of things. My parents grew up very poor, and I tend to think that having food on show and food around us was representative of, we're doing okay, we're safe, we're secure, we're doing okay.
Yeah. And bread particularly probably has a really like that smell, the smell of bread cooking. I mean, if you're listening to this, you'll probably notice that things like your autonomic nervous system is even bringing up things like your mouth starting to water, even listening to these words. I mean, this is how strongly connected the brain is to these food words even. So that's why they say that when someone is in a coma, the best thing that you can actually do is take in their favourite food. Like if they love to eat, I don't know, whatever, bacon and eggs, then you could take it in and wave it under their nose. Now, we also it had such a huge effect. And that's a really good example of just how closely linked the brain is to food, taste and smell.
How about now?
Can you hear me?
There'll be a bit of a lag, but how about now, ladies? Can you hear us?
Somebody
should be fine now.
Okay. So I'm not sure which part you missed, but we're just saying how there's a really huge link in the brain to smell and taste. It's very, very like closely associated with that part of the brain. Thank you. So, and my story that I tell around food, like Joe's story with the bread, is drinking cups of tea. In my family, if you were relaxing, you were drinking a cup of tea. So even as I got to be an adult, it's like I sit down to have a relax. Well, where's my cup of tea? It was as common as like clouds and rain. You just don't have rain if there's no clouds. In my house, if you were relaxing, you had a cup of tea. And so this is another link that's been made, and I would encourage everyone watching this video to think about what links are being made, what feeling states have you directly linked to the food in your life. So what was linked to bread?
Yeah, I need to go back to bread and share a little bit more, because the times when I would eat it most were when I was alone and feeling lonely. So and usually at night, and and
who else has got a pack of biscuits out in the middle of the night?
And there's this comfort level, you know. I'm not lonely anymore. I bring back the feelings of being with my mum, being with my family, being safe, secure, but obviously it's not real. The feeling is not in the food, and which is often why I would still feel horrible afterwards. Like it was very temporary to feel better.
Yeah.
And it's usually, for me, it was the going to get it, to make it, to, you know, once I'd sat down and I'd eaten it, then I was usually doing the guilts on myself.
Yes. So but that is such a good point that you're making there, Jo. The point that what we're really looking for in the food is that feeling of family, is the feeling that you got when all the family was around and they were, you know, so for me with the tea, there's often biscuits and everyone, and that's when everyone was relaxing and having fun. So that's the feeling that we're looking for. So the good news is that as an adult, you can show your brain that you can create the feeling state. And really, when I say to people the love isn't in the food, sometimes they go, "What are you talking about, Ilka? All the love's in the food." I've asked many people this question when I'm working with people, how much love is in the food out of 100%, and most of them say 100%, 100%'s in the food. So we're going to show you an exercise at the end as to how you can change that. What else were we going to talk about, Jo?
Yeah, there was another memory for me. Well, after I had my third child, and I had been to a naturopath, and she thought that I had postnatal depression, as probably, you know, most mums do have the things that make up whatever postnatal depression is. But I found myself, I'd have packets of biscuits hidden in the cupboard, and I would sneak away in the dark of the kitchen and sneak like full packets of Tim Tams at a time. And you know, this again, I'm on my own. I'm with this mothering thing. I wasn't physically on my own. My husband was there. I had 2 other children, but inside me, the feeling, I'm feeling alone again, and I'm stuffing my face because the love is in the Tim Tams.
The love is in the Tim Tams. And the other thing that's interesting about what we do around food is we say things often like you can have your dessert after your vegetables. So what we do when we do that is we give some foods higher status than other foods. So you can have you can go and play outside. If you go and play outside for 10 minutes, then you can have a biscuit. So we've just given these foods a lot of status by doing this. And often as children, I think foods were made the forbidden, like sweet foods or lollies and sugary things were made like the forbidden fruit, or you only get them as a treat. And so this makes them even more desirable in our mind. So that's another thing to be mindful of. And you know, what are we making linked to food? So another thing that comes up a lot when people are asking me about this is this trust. Can we really trust our bodies to know what's best for them? So what do you reckon?
It's a radical idea, isn't it? Like, feel yourself you may cringe as I say this, but can you imagine just letting your children eat whatever they wanted whenever they wanted, and trusting in them that they know their body, and even if they did have a binge on sweets, that they would recognise how that affected their body and make choices based on how it affected their body. Now the thing that I think was like difficult for me to take that on board at all is because I didn't trust my own body and trust my own belief in myself to make good food choices, or not good food choices, to make the right food choices for me. So if I can't trust in me, then it's very difficult to trust that my children can do that for themselves.
Yes, and that's exactly it. So that's why, again, we always talk about in our courses, we work with the parents first. We get you trusting yourself, and a lot of doing that is going back to the memories from childhood and taking some of the, like many of you may have experienced a lot of control around food. So maybe when you're at the dinner table, you're told I've had many clients with memories where they've been forced to eat things and they won't get something else until they've eaten their dinner. Or I've even had clients tell me they were forced to eat their dinner for breakfast the next morning. So these are memories around being controlled around food. And if you have those kind of memories, then we have to unlink that feeling of control from food, because often what you're doing as an adult then is, and I did this a lot, I used food like as a control mechanism. So I was like a food Nazi. I felt like, and again, it was because I felt so out of control in my life. It was like with food, you could check everything, you could look at the calories, you could look at what the preservatives, all the numbers that it had. I mean, there were so many things you could control around food. You know, how much of it you have in your house, what kinds of it you have in your house. And at one stage in my life, unfortunately, when my children were small, I became a real food Nazi. Now, what all that did was create that every time my kids went somewhere else, they were the ones that would be trying to get the lollies and eat all the lollies because they knew they wouldn't get it at home. So all I did was create a problem there. And yeah, so
and
what do we do?
Yeah, with the trust in your own body, like my own body, I know I would be with people, even my kids, my youngest daughter, like she would eat and eat a third of a meal. This is out now as an adult, and she'd stop and like it'd be delicious, and she'd say, "I'm full," and I'm like, "So what does that mean?" You know, because I knew how to binge eat and make myself like, I don't even relate making myself sick to binge eating, because it's such a regular feeling.
Yeah. Carusa just said that I was made to finish dinner before I could have dessert. Yes. And yes, this is what we do. Then we make a vow that we won't do the same. Now, funnily enough, my control mechanism around food came from, I was actually given free rein as a child. We had open access to as many lollies as we wanted. My father ate lollies like there was no tomorrow. So did my grandparents. They smoked, they drank. They had cakes at every, morning, afternoon tea. There was always those things around, but I saw them be very, very, very unhealthy. And that's what I didn't want for my own children. But isn't it interesting, even with that? So again, and there's a post in our group this week about vows we make. So when the vow is coming from that response to something, like it was a link to those foods make you unhealthy. In my brain, that's what I'd done. So it wasn't linked to we can follow our internal guidance system and know what's right for our own body, and we'll eat a couple of lollies and then we'll feel sick. I just felt like I was projecting this link I'd made that sweets made you unhealthy, because I saw both my grandparents and my father be extremely unhealthy, and I linked it to the food they ate. So I didn't want that for my children. So this is how vows work. Vows are strange things, but again, it's about letting go of these links, and whatever's linked to food taking taking everything out of food. Guys, there is no love in food. There is no safety in food. There is no security in food. There is, you know, maybe nutrition for the body, but there's none of these feelings that we can create ourselves doing other things. Like we can get love and safety just by creating a nice happy memory with grandma. It doesn't have to have the food in it. So shall we show everyone how that would work?
Just before we go, I'm looking at Carissa's message, how she has to finish her plate every time, even if it's a shared bowl of chips and other stock. She'll keep going until it's empty. I totally resonate with that, and it reminds me of a time I was out with a Greek girlfriend and I cleaned up everything on my plate, and she left something on her plate even though she said it was delicious. And I said, why aren't you eating it? And she said, oh, in our culture, it's rude to eat everything on your plate. You leave a little bit on the plate. Like, there you go. Beliefs.
So you're both playing out what you did in childhood. It's so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
And yeah, there you go. And see, Carissa's daughter will just walk away when she's had enough. Now, this is what kids are so good at doing. Kids are so good at knowing what their bodies are, especially if we're able to like let go of all this programming we have, and so they learn from us too. So if they've seen us do the same thing, they start learning that that's what it is. Or, you know, sometimes that's just okay for them as well. Whatever they're doing is okay for them. It's the meaning that we're putting on what they're doing is usually a projection of our own issues and links that we have around food. So I'm going to show you.
And when they choose to either eat, not eat, whatever they choose, the types of food based on the appreciation they get from us rather than listening to their own bodies.
Yes, that is such a good point. That is such a good point. Kids, you know, they see everything. They see the expression on our faces. They notice everything. So like what I said before with the treats, if you're like going, you know, if we made a happy face every time they eat something like an apple, and we frown every time they eat sweets, again, these are subconscious links that we're creating. So the thing I think, and I didn't get this very right, guys, like I am still, you know, working on this myself, and I know my children have got, like they're pretty good, but they have issues around food too. This is a really big one, and you know, because of some of the things that I did, and luckily they have a lot of these amazing tools to change it now, which is what your children will have too. But yeah, it's I've forgotten where I was going.
Yeah, so we'd love to share with you a technique now to help you take remove the links from love in the food.
Yes, yes. So what I would encourage you to do is find the memory from childhood. So for me, I'm going to find this memory where we're sitting around with my grandfather, my father, my grandmother, and here I am sitting at the dinner table, and there's the big pot of tea. And if I close my eyes and I look at that pot of tea, and so you do the same thing, just look at the food in the memory and just ask your subconscious how much love is in that teapot. And I mean, the first figure I got then, because I've worked on this a fair bit and I've changed it a fair bit, but I got 20%. So there's 20% of the love is still in that teapot, all right? It's not in the people. So what I'm going to do now, and I encourage you to do this again, you can do it along with me, is shut your eyes and just notice. So if it's 20%, and what you can do is as you're tapping along with me, you can see the love that's in the teapot going back into the people. So you can either give it a color, like give it a pink color or something like that, or a white, or a gold speckled color, or a rainbow, whatever you want to do. But notice the love that you think is in that teapot or in that food, and send it back to the people in the memory. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to look at that teapot and I'm going to notice that I'm sending it back, and I can tap and just say, let it go, send it back, send it back, send all the love. Like it was never in the food, it was never in that tea, all the relaxation. I'm sending it back to the people. Okay, big deep breath. Float away. Okay, and just notice it. Notice that it's going back into the people in the memory. And notice as they receive it, they start smiling and they can feel this comfort and this safety and the feeling of family and connection. They can feel it in their body. You can see that pink just going into them. So notice it's going out of the food. And again, we're going to tap again. It's going out of the food, it's going into them. All the ways it was really about the people. It's really about me. It's safe to feel this love in my body. In my body. I send it to everyone. I send it back to me. Safe to feel this feeling. Comfort, security, connection, love. Okay, big deep breath. Float away. And peace. We always grab our wrists in fast EFT to say peace at the end. And so you can keep doing this until all the people in the memory have the love and connection and there's 0% in the food. And your conscious mind will just go, oh, this is not going to work. This is crazy. I'm telling you, if you do this process on a regular basis, just close your eyes, go back to those memories, take the love out of the food, give it back to the people, your whole life will start to change around food. All the links will start to disappear. And if there's control around food, you can change it to there's happiness, and there's happiness in all the people. So you could tap down anyone in the memory that's been controlling, just keep tapping and tapping until the people in the memory change. And they're happy. And then another thing that's kind of cool is if you want to eat more healthy foods in your life, change your memories to having healthier foods in them. So the love still isn't in the food, but you can replace it with green smoothies, or you could, like for me, I saw my dad smoking a lot in memory, so I actually changed it that he is eating protein bars that he actually invented. Like you can do all this stuff in your mind that will change everything. Yeah. You know, but you can add love to the memory. So because that's normally what you're looking for with food if you're having to eat it all. It could also be though that it's just repeating the pattern of control in your life. So then it would be about unlinking the control. So you'd be tapping and saying, I'll let go of this control first, and then changing the people in the memory. If there's a negative emotion, shift that first. If it's a happy emotion, take the love out of the food, put it back into the people, and just keep the love, keep the happiness. Okay, because we can have love and happiness around all kinds of food. This is what children are really good at doing. They don't kind of discriminate until we've made a certain kind of food more attractive than another by our facial expressions or by how we say to, you know, you can't have it until after this, or you can't do this. That's the only way that they get to know. So I would one of the posts I read of a mum who really followed this system of helping her children guide themselves was to talk a lot about them trusting in their own body and how much you trust in your own. You can trust in your own body to know. So I was asking them, do you trust that you've had enough now? And asking them to tune into themselves. And this is what we can do for ourselves too, but shift the love out of the food first. That's the first step.
Yeah.
Okay.
Carissa says, was sadness. I was made to sit at the table with the other people that hadn't finished their meal yet. Yes, this is a common one.
It is common.
Sometimes a sibling, sometimes alone. Yes.
So again, that would be like tapping the sadness out of that memory, tapping the sadness out of yourself. Because sometimes that's, whatever the connection with food is maybe sadness connected with food. So then when you feel sad, you're going to find food and you don't even know why. It's like, why am I doing this when I'm sad? But this is why. It's connected back to those memories from childhood, where a lot of if you've got a lot of memories that say you were sad when you were eating food, then it's like, I'm sad, it's time to eat food. And again, you can say when you're tapping, I'll let this memory represent all the others, and just say, I'm letting it go now. Yes, Yes.
Yes, and it doesn't have to make sense. Like for some of the logical people out there like me, we had one of our clients recently asked me, how did I stop like questioning everything and going, oh, well, that doesn't make sense. You know, when I know that it can help me change my life, but still I'm trying to make sense of it. And I just got tired of trying to make sense of everything, and let it go and just let it be that, well, if it changes my life for the better, then I'm going with it.
Yeah, sometimes it's just stopping and doing these exercises. Like it does take bypassing that logical conscious mind, because it's going to go, don't do that, that's never going to work. Like what changing your memory from
You can't do that.
You can't do that. That's what your conscious mind will say to you, because it's trying to keep you safe. It's trying to keep all the memories back there. It's like saying, it's kind of, I mean, I'm joking here a little bit, but the conscious mind, I feel like it goes, but remember, that's how we got our treats. This is how we did this. This is how we kept, like in Carissa's memory, this is how I kept Mum, you know, from being more upset. Like I did what they said, because then I wouldn't be in trouble. Like everything about our childhood, we were trying to keep ourselves safe. We were trying to make sure someone didn't get more upset, or we were trying to do something that was going to make our life easier. It's never about that anything else than that. You are always being successful as a child at fitting into your family environment. Always. And you're doing the best you can to fit into that environment. But yay, the good news is, as an adult, you don't have to keep that. And doing these simple processes, I mean, they also seem so simple. Seriously, that couldn't work. But again, that's the conscious brain. It will tell you that every day of the week, but just go and do it. It's all I can say.
Yeah.
Tap, tap, tap.
Yeah.
When all these things come up, tap, tap, tap. It's safe to let it go. I can find comfort myself, you know, in a feeling. You can create it in your own body.
Yay.
So, yeah.
Cool. Well,
Thank you so much for watching.
Yes, that's a big one. It's a big topic.
Huge.
Thank you for being here and joining us, and you know.
And we didn't even say the word diet once. you know, because all of those things, again, out there'll be so much advice about what this is, what that is. You should do this, you should do that. But the feeling state that is linked to food is the key. You don't shift that, it won't matter how many years you go to the gym, or how much you calorie count, or how much you know, if that little child inside of you is looking for that love and it thinks it's in the food, yeah, you could be at the gym for 10 years and that won't change it. Yeah. So these exercises will.
Yeah, powerful stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Pop any more questions below. Ilka loves to answer questions.
I do.
I love watching Ilka answer questions. So, thanks for being here. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
See you then.